Welcome to the P.A.S. Report Weekly Roundup Podcast. The P.A.S. Report provides an honest analysis on the critical issues that matter to you without the biased media filters. Here's your host, Professor Nicholas Giordano.
Let's welcome tonight's guests. This anchor always rocks the boat. Fox News anchor Julie Benjamin. He was happily married until his wife saw his act. Actor, writer, and comedian Jamie Lissow. He's an expert in emergency management, which makes him a perfect fit for this show. Campus Reform Higher Education Fellow Nicholas Giordano. And finally, if she gained a pound, it would be lonely. New York Times bestselling author and Fox News contributor Kat Tube. Jamie, how you doing there?
I'm good, thank you.
I don't care. Would you say that the hell going on in California right now looks better or worse than the end of your terrible and depressing marriage?
Similar.
Similar?
Similar. I've hated Gavin Newsom, by the way, for a long. I've not liked him since. My least favorite thing was, remember when he told everyone to wear masks?
Yes.
And then he was caught not wearing a mask. God, that happened to me during sex once. This girl was like, "We're all putting our masks on," and then it was just me. The throughways in California, by the way, I don't know if you've ever been on them. They are a disaster when they're not on fire.
Yeah, I know.
So this is like really bad. I also like a confusing message. They come on and they go, "We don't have to shut down the 10. That's good news, but it's going to take months, not weeks."
Yeah.
Right? And then Gavin goes, "Yep, that's right. It's not going to take. It's going to take 6 to 8 weeks." And I was like, "I think that's months."
Yes.
I think that's 1.5 to 2. I don't know, were they trying to trick me?
Yeah.
Like, I don't like when people try to trick. Like I was at the playground the other day and there was this little girl. My daughter was playing.
Yeah.
And I go, "How old's your daughter?" I say to this lady. And she goes, "Oh, she's 39 months. I go, I think she's 3. First of all, I don't even care how old your daughter is. I'm trying to be nice. Now I got to do some sort of mathematical formula to figure out how old your daughter is. But this whole thing did remind me of my marriage, to answer your question from the beginning. Because it said, he said it was a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Which was, those are the same words the priest used. That's the thing. Disaster waiting to happen. Yeah.
That was a good line. I like how you worked that playground one into there. It had
I did, right?
Yeah, it had nothing to do with it, but it was okay.
A lot of mine don't.
Yeah, at least you didn't say the election was flat. Julie! An inside joke. Julie, what do you think America would look like if he actually ends up being president, if you see what's happening in California?
He actually said that he admitted that San Francisco got a facelift, which,
Yeah.
I mean, a facelift after, arson and fire, and a Czech news crew apparently was held up at gunpoint, and that's their facelift? I mean, I someday want to get a facelift when I get to that place, but have you ever walked on the Upper East Side and seen like a bad facelift? Because that's what San Francisco is. Like Catwoman, she's like...
Yeah.
Like, that's San Francisco. And as far as marriages ending like San Francisco, I would only be lucky if mine ended as well as that. I mean, fires, explosion, gunshots, and drugs sounds like a freaking paradise honeymoon I never got. I'm just saying. Next. But San Francisco is flat.
Yeah.
No hills there.
No hills there at all.
San Francisco doesn't need a facelift. It needs an enema.
Yeah.
That would be...
But it looks like it's had an enema. I don't know where I'm going. Professor, how come it's not possible to teach people in California their mistakes? It just seems like this stuff goes on and on and on. My theory is that the rich are far removed from the poor, so they actually don't see the consequences. What do you think?
Well, I think that theory is absolutely correct. I mean, just look at the obvious. He comes out and they put up these heavy-duty fences, and Democrats love walls and fences. They actually work to keep people out, except on our southern border. That's where they can't work.
Yeah.
And then he comes out and says, well, when you have a guest over, you got to clean your home. It reveals what he really thinks about the people. He looks at them as garbage, the residents of California. They'll still vote for him. That's the scary part. But it was his Marie Antoinette moment saying, let them eat cake. And I feel bad because after this little Apex summit is over, guess what's coming back in? And it's the homeless encampments.
Yeah. It's almost like let them eat urine cake.
Or feces cake.
Feces cake. Remember those little... Well, you don't have that problem.
I'm a girl.
Yeah, you are. I keep forgetting.
He always forgets.
What do you make of this whole fire situation? It's actually in California almost a natural disaster because all they do is drive. And that is like the most crucial freeway for Southern California.
Yeah, well, you also think that, freeway not on fire is a great bipartisan initiative.
Yes.
Because it does affect everyone. And the thing that's sad is California is really great in a lot of ways. I was just there. I had the best time. The weather was beautiful. My show sold out. The crowds were amazing. I had the best time with my friends. It would have been perfect if that lady didn't throw the knife at me.
Yes, that's true.
But, she didn't, all's well that doesn't break the skin, you could say. But, it actually was pretty bad. And she wasn't even in a homeless camp. She was just all by herself.
Yeah.
So I think that there are some simple things that can be done. I think that something like a knife being thrown could be taken a little more seriously, setting there shouldn't be multiple freeways being caught on fire before someone's like, this is a problem.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that hard to make California awesome because California is awesome just based on the weather and so many other things.
Do you know, that reminds me of an analogy I came up with. California is like a beautiful woman who doesn't have to do anything because they have the water, they have the scenery, so they're just there no matter what. It's like a completely brain dead, beautiful woman.
You're right, that smokes.
Yeah, that smokes. It's just like a beautiful, brain dead woman who smokes. We can dream. All right, up next, Pink tries to be cool, blathering about book bans in school. Thank you. Oh, stop. Pink took a stand against books that aren't banned, but the singer gets wrecked by a simple fact check. The annoying artist known as Pink gave away 2,000 supposedly banned books at her Florida concerts this week, confusing her fans as they're mostly illiterate. The square-jawed songstress claimed on X that several titles, including To Kill a Mockingbird and Catcher in the Rye, are banned in the Sunshine State. But X called her out on her crap and posted a community note saying the list had been proven false and they're not banned. Not at all. And the only books Floridians want out of school libraries are so perverted they're on the reading list for To Catch a Predator. But Pink still doubled down, posting this: the MAGA cult is mad and their panties are in quite a bunch. Well, that just shows you how much she knows about the MAGA crowd. They don't even wear underwear. Oh, yeah, there you go. He's going commando in the back row. But MAGA is the new catch-all for anybody who proves the liberal wrong on the facts. Of course, she went on, quote, I wish I could continue because y'all, I'm just getting started. But I got to read my kids a bedtime story about how it's okay that some families have two dads. Well, that's so cringy. I bet her kids wish they had two dads, too. But all of this makes me think of one of my favorite Pink songs, Get the Party Started, Although it sounds a little different than I remember. Not aged well, Julie, but you have. I never liked saying celebrities should stay in their lane and stick to singing or telling jokes. So can you do it?
I think she should never talk about woke books at a concert. First of all, I can barely get my kids to read. So then you get your kids to a concert and you expect them to open up a book?
Yeah.
And it's got to be about gays and trans?
Yeah.
What does that have to do with singing? It's the same thing as taking a knee at a football game. Mm-hmm. It's not about politics. It's about going to see people play football, which I can't stand football, so I wouldn't go. But a concert, who the hell is she trying to teach? Her children or our children? Our children don't need that.
This is what happens when stars see the glow in their life fading and they start getting desperate. And the best way to get some kind of resurgence in their credibility is virtue signaling. And she's really bad at it, Professor. What did you make of it?
Well, they are bad at it because they just want to redefine what the word banning means.
That's true.
And that's what it's all about. Books aren't being banned. It's parents are complaining that there's inappropriate books in the school libraries.
Yeah.
K through 12 shouldn't have pornography, especially we don't have Lord of the Flies in K through 5. Mm-hmm. And so what the books they're trying to put in are ones that we would never read to our children. Mm-hmm. However, they're the ones that did try and get Dr. Seuss banned and canceled. Mm-hmm. And they're the ones that are having American classics be rewritten because there's so many trigger words in there.
That's true.
They don't know what they're talking about, and they should be more concerned about the 13% of students that don't know American history, that can't read, write, or do mathematics. You just had Oregon announce that they're doing away with all graduating standards of proficiency levels. Like, let's be more concerned about that and the fact that our education system has collapsed than fake book bans. That's what I think.
Exactly. Kat, you are in favor of book bans. I was surprised as a libertarian.
Okay. Well, look, I actually have throughout the years had issues with some of Ron DeSantis's pieces of legislation as a free speech absolutist. And so because of that, also, nothing makes me more frustrated than to see someone coming out and saying things that are completely not true, because then it makes it more difficult for those things to be taken seriously when I say them. She was saying that To Kill a Mockingbird was completely banned. Diary of Anne Frank was completely banned, which is just not true. And then she turns and goes, oh, MAGA people are mad. No, you're wrong. And like Julie said, she's handing out these books at a concert. That is really weird.
Yeah.
That is to go to a concert which her songs are about get the party started and someone hands you a copy of the Diary of Anne Frank.
Yeah.
It's an important book for many reasons, but it doesn't make me want to dance.
Yeah, what is it? Get the Nazi party started? She's anti-Semitic.
That's what you said.
I didn't say that. Somebody else said that. Jamie, you said that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't even
Jamie,
remember.
did you ever read to your kids?
Yeah, I'll read to them a lot sometimes.
What'd you read to them?
Well, I'll tell you what. I was going to read them, and I'll pose this back as a question to you. I was going to read them Diary of Anne Frank, and it just occurred to me, should we be reading Anne Frank's diary? Do you know what I mean? I mean, there's a tiny lock on there for a reason, you guys. And can you
My
imagine?
diary would be banned from schools.
Yeah. I was thinking that. I was like, can you imagine if you had a diary and somebody's like, hey, we have good news and bad news. The good news is you now have a best-selling book. The bad news is everybody knows that you think second cousins that are hot don't count. I'm impressed by Pink giving away books at her concert. Like that means she's doing well. Like at my shows, I can't even give away tickets to my shows. They said the first 1,000 people get books at the concert, and they say if anybody is not amongst the first 1,000, you could find one in the trash or on the floor. Grab one.
So true.
It's so stupid.
It's so true. But this is what she needs to do, right? Because this is the first time I've heard about Pink in ages.
Yes, true.
You know?
True. Isn't it weird, too, that, like, you ban a book, but, like, if my kid finds out that those books are banned, he's going to buy them.
Yeah.
They're not burning them all and saying you can't get them. They're just saying, like, they're sort of letting the parents choose or letting some, I don't know. And then when I heard pornography, you could read it. I was like, thank God there's video now. I feel like reading pornography, that's an instance where the movie is always better than the book.
Yeah. I never understood erotica.
No.
That was just weird.
Yeah, and then you get all excited, and then you got to turn the page, and it goes away.
All right. Enough of that. Up next, is it a crime to call 90s music the best of all time?
When things go sideways, you want to be prepared. Protect you and your family. And people are concerned. They might have to go for a long time without food, electricity. That's why I want to introduce you to 4patriots.com. Get preparedness products you could use now, and that could save your life later. My favorite is 4Patriots' new solar generator, the Patriot Power Generator 2000X. It uses the endless free power of the sun to power your lights, your TV, medical equipment, even run your fridge. Plus, it's expandable and comes with a free solar panel. Or you can pick up one of 4Patriots' best-selling survival food kits. Delicious tasting and designed to last for 25 years. They even have kits with real meat. And if the power's out, no worries. Just boil water over fire, simmer, and serve. You're going to enjoy a hot meal and stay safe in a crisis. More smart people than ever are finding 4Patriots. Over 2 million customers trust them, and you might have even seen them on TV. I had the folks at 4Patriots set up a special page for you at 4patriots.com/PAS so that listeners of this podcast can see this week's discounts and deals before they go away. Go to 4patriots.com/PAS, but you gotta hurry because the deals don't last long. So save more money, get peace of mind, and protect you and your family. Go to 4patriots.com/PAS.
Well, the Department of Energy announcing recently that it will provide $5 million in combined funding to 6 projects, initiating climate resilience centers that are intended to advance climate science on college campuses. The announcement states that the funded projects are aimed at increasing, quote, the use and utility of DOE research to improve climate resilience, particularly in vulnerable communities. Just brings a tear to my eye. The projects will be funded for 3 years, of course, except until there's an election next year and they get defunded immediately. Here to discuss this from Campus Reform's higher education fellow Nick Giordano. Professor, good to see you again.
Always a pleasure.
All right, so what's going on here? Shove more climate change garbage into the throats and the small brains of those that are susceptible to such nonsense? Is that what we're doing here?
Well, it's even worse than that. It's not about climate resiliency or even climate change. It's about diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's what it comes down to. And all you have to do is look at the buzzwords they use. They use, climate justice and environmental equity. And the money actually is being transferred to DEI departments. So there's going to be no science involved in this. It's not going to be how to build a resilient infrastructure here in the United States. If it was going to science departments, then you may have an argument. But what I find astounding is that we have seen the complete collapse of the education system. Proficiency levels are at all-time lows. We have ACT and SAT scores hitting new lows this year. That's after the new lows last year that were historic. And college students are unable to do basic math or write at a basic level. And yet they're wasting taxpayer dollars on funding these climate resiliency centers. The money would be better served in how to catch these students up and actually prepare them for the workforce. Because when you think of college, you think of careers. But these students are not being prepared for careers.
No. What are they being prepared for? Activism. They're being prepared to vote a certain way to support leftist socialist policies, which works for a while. Worked in Argentina for a while. That's been rejected. By the way, Geert Wilders looks like he's winning the election to be the next prime minister in the Netherlands. 2 countries, opposite sides of the world, both turning hard right to conservatism, to conservative principles and throwing out the socialists. So even these children that are being poisoned with all this filth, many of them will come around, Nicholas, at some point. They'll say, wait a second. This is garbage. This doesn't work. Don't you think there's hope?
Well, I do think there's hope because there's nothing worse than investing tens of thousands of dollars to over $100,000 and not being able to find a career after you got that piece of paper and you were told that if you get that piece of paper, you'll live a great, successful life. So I think people are starting to question college. And we're seeing the results of the failure of the education system at the higher education level. We just had a small business survey that was released that showed 90% of small businesses responded colleges are not preparing students with the skills necessary to compete in today's workforce. And it follows other things that are going on, other evidence where you have corporate Walmart, Tesla, Google, IBM. They have moved away from 4-year college degrees. States like New Jersey and Pennsylvania and Virginia have moved away from 4-year college degrees. It seems that everyone is aware that the education system is not producing the quality of students that we need, except for the education system itself, because they continue to double down on a far left agenda that pushes ideology over education.
Well, and here's the problem. We're bringing kids into these universities and colleges. They're walking out with $50,000, $80,000, $100,000 in debt to go get jobs that pay $40,000 a year because they're not really ready to do much of anything else, right? So it's a complete waste of time and energy, except that they come out broke, owing money, which is why Joe Biden and his team want to give all this money away so they can buy those voters. That's all that is. Forgiving student loans is all about buying votes. And once you've put somebody in a corner, painted them in a corner with a terrible degree, with a useless degree, and a massive amount of debt, then they all want to be socialists. You put them in a position where they have no other choice because they're broke all the time by design, by this government who puts them there with useless degrees. I mean, these degrees are useless. They should go become carpenters, plumbers, electricians. Hell, mow lawns and don't go waste your time in college and come out and have $100,000 in your pocket when you're 25 and not be broke. There's 100 answers here, Professor. aren't there?
Yeah, and there's so many solutions that do exist out there. There's trade schools. You could become an entrepreneur. You could go to a community college to start off to save money. And the useless degree programs have to go. I mean, the fact that colleges are charging $40,000 to $80,000 in some cases per year in order to get a degree in criminal studies, that should be criminal. I mean, these students should be able to sue these universities for getting ripped off. You know, there are certain degree programs that are 100% necessary when you look at engineering or medical field. But, you know, and liberal arts, there is value to it. However, when you're charging an asinine amount of money and putting students in debt, there comes a point where you have to reevaluate the system. And in order to bring down costs, we should begin looking at cutting funding. The financial aid departments should not be covering degree programs where there is no career trajectory. That would solve the problem fairly quickly. If colleges aren't receiving the financial aid money because of degree programs they're offering, they'll end those degree programs. It won't be worth it to them. So there are solutions out there. We just have to make them possible.
Yeah, here's the best solution. And I've been putting this out for a long time. You worked in the college system, Professor. Here's my solution. You want to offer gender studies degrees and communications degrees that they put out millions of I'm in communications. Well, that's great. What good is that? Nothing. I'm in a communication degree. Big deal. Is it going to get you hired to do a job at a Fortune 500? No. Fortune 1000? No. So here's what I suggest. You make those universities and colleges the co-signer on that loan. If after 5 years, or pick your number, whatever you're happy with, and the kid still has not gotten gainful employment that'll allow them to live a reasonable life and pay off the student loan debt, then the debt becomes the responsibility of the university. Make the universities co-sign, make them put skin in the game, and make their degrees be worth something on this world. You get the last word here.
Well, it's a great idea, but I guarantee you they would never co-sign. They'd rather end the degree program than co-sign for those loans because they know that student success isn't the real goal, and that's part of the problem.
No, if anybody that's been on a college tour like I have in the last 10 years knows it's not about education. It's about the meal plan. It's about the recreation center. It's about the cool university they're going to go to that looks more like Disney World, the old Disney World, not the woke one, but maybe it is woke now. The point being is the only way it's going to work is if those universities and colleges have skin in the game. Anything short of that, then get rid of the degree programs. I agree with you. But if they don't have a stake in the outcome, it's never going to change. Nicholas, thank you for being here. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you as well.
Greatly appreciate it. Just had to get that off my chest. If these universities, they're going to continue to screw these kids and come back and demand your tax dollars cover the difference and pay off their student loans, selling degrees that aren't worth the paper they're written on, right? Unless they get skin in the game. That's what should happen. Make them stand behind the degrees that they issue.
Thank you for listening to the P.A.S. Report Weekly Roundup Podcast.
Have a good one. Bye.
Be sure to rate, share, and subscribe to the podcast so you'll never miss an episode. Also, visit PASreport.com and follow us on Twitter at PAS Report.